All right, why don't we call the meeting to order, if we could all stand and salute the flag, please, with allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we've asked Tom
Tebow.
Tom Tebow, okay, Tom Tebow, we know that name. And you also brought a guest, Dennis.
Finish, correct.
Dennis, thank you so much. You guys want to come on up here?
Whichever you prefer.
Yeah, come on up and hang out. You can,
All right.
you know, bring your chairs if you want. So Tom is the executive, I'm going to be formal, I guess, Executive Director of Brockton Housing Authority and Chief Executive Officer of Abington and Hanson Housing Authority. That's what I saw on the internet, so it's got to be true, right?
No longer Hanson.
Oh, okay.
No
See,
longer.
it's a lot.
We fell in love with Abington and said we're just.
So you lost the contract for Hanson?
No, we decided that we didn't want
Okay,
to.
all right. And Dennis is the Director of Asset Management for Brockton Housing?
Brockton
Housing Authority. And also is, Tom says he's an expert in CPA.
Well, the expert is
He's a member
matter of opinion.
He's a member of the Eastern CPA Committee. So the reason we ask you guys in is because, you know, we are excited about doing some projects, you know, and we know that the really bad need for affordable senior housing in town. And I know that you guys want to increase, and Ellen can jump in wherever she wants. Jen mentioned it, that you guys own property. You know, it's surprising you own property here, right up against this. You own extra property off of Shar Ave too. But there's, and I'll let you take over. But Housing Authority is federally funded.
State funded.
It's state funded.
State funded.
State funded. Okay, but there's no money available now or now.
So the housing authorities created by a statute 121A. The town selectmen at that time had to approve it, and a housing authority was created. They then got a program from the state. It's a Chapter 667 program, which built Levitt Terrace. That's 6671, and then they built Shar Avenue. That's 6672. And then there are two scattered size houses in town that are family, 2 3-bedroom homes. There is this property over here. How they came to own it, I don't know. We do have some property at the end of Shar Ave that looks like it could handle a little bit of a couple of buildings, maybe 8 units.
Yep.
So that's there's opportunity to do things. Obviously, the most difficult thing to do is get money. And there's many different ways to do it. The state is looking to do things. They don't always want to do what the town wants to do. Mm-hmm. They don't look at towns like towns. They look at towns as a resource for the state. So you have to be careful. You know, you have to work towards that. Commissioner Brady Sullivan had brought this up to me about a year ago that she would like to do something. It's much needed. Our lists are years and years and years long, which you can understand for a 70-year-old applicant is really sometimes beyond their life expectancy. So, and as we were discussing, the prices of rents are extraordinary. And what we're seeing quite often is people, elders who have lived in a home or an apartment for 30 years, that owner then dies and sells the home, and the rents make them homeless. So there is a need. How to fund these type of things? Again, the state would like to develop some things. We could inquire there. There are some development companies that are around who will do things. You know, Corcoran Management will do it. Peabody, those companies like that. They're looking for things, and usually what the housing authority does is end up managing the units because the regulations call for certain capacities that the housing authorities have.
All right, let's start with some questions. I know that you had a question as how do these projects happen, right? And the originally, I guess Pam was looking into how did they come about? When did they come about? At least the ones that are present now in Abington. Obviously, it's before your time too.
So yeah, if you're talking about the privately owned ones, they're usually doing it, if they're doing affordable at all, They're doing it with low-income tax credits. They are developers. So they're looking to develop, you have Avalon down here, correct? Avalon probably has, and I don't know these numbers, 200 units, let's say.
Yeah.
And to get some government money in it, they make 40 affordable.
Right.
Now, affordable might be $1,500 a month
Right.
for a two-bedroom. So you really have to know what you're looking for as far as the affordable scale. Now, there should be a scale, right? Not everything can't be at 230% of adjusted income. But that's where your real need is for the elders. They can't, this isn't attractive to many elders. It's a nice place, but they can't afford it. So that's how they're doing it. They're professionals at it. They're very good at it. They apply to the state for low-income tax credits. That's about a 3 or 4 year process. Usually they're turned down the first time. A lot of upfront money. That's where it stops a lot of people. A lot of upfront money doing that kind of project.
Yeah.
The other way is to simply go to the state, the Department of Housing and Community Development, and say, we have some land we'd like to develop. We know there's a need, and we would like to discuss that. The Housing Authority can do that. They do need the support of the town. They'd have to go through a public process. And depending on what's happening, that could happen in a year. Brockton did this back in the late 90s, and we got approved, say, around 2000. The building was completed around 2012. So it moves at a glacial pace. And that was 8 units of specially designed housing for people with mental health disabilities. So it was a group home for people who go out to work every day. So that, again, that's where the money was at that time. That you weren't going to get money for other things. So you have to be sure of what you want to do. Very nice house, by the way, and it's been a very good neighbor to us. But
Now, how did the 2 senior housing projects in Abington come about? I mean, the town must have given them the land at some point, or?
yeah, well, I don't know what happened there, but usually, you get the worst land in the town.
Yeah.
The town transfers it over to the housing authority. But if you look at what happened, this was back in the late 60s, early 70s. It was a 15-year wait for elderly people to get into any kind of subsidized housing.
Yep.
So obviously, about 1 in 10 ever made it there. So there was a huge building boom. If you go through Brockton, if you see it, all those high-rises, they were built between 68 and 72.
Yeah.
So the government at that point said, we need to do something about it. This huge boom goes on, it happens, and then it stops.
Yeah.
The last thing that was built in Brockton for Chapter 667 was 1978. That's the Crosby Gardens up on the northeast side, right close to Abington. There are small things going on. In Easton, we went through a process to purchase a house.
Those 2 houses in Abington, were they gifted, or did you purchase them, or how did that work?
Prior to us coming, but I'm sure they were purchased.
They were purchased?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a different program altogether, scattered site. It's supposed to say to a family, look, you're not being put into a low-income project, you're being put into a home, and you're in a neighborhood, and nobody will know that you're there, you're just in the neighborhood, and it's about mixing of incomes.
Okay. Any other questions? No, I know.
Oh.
Just gonna do with the board. Do you have any other questions?
And, if they went to the state, you're not set with the state. Like, you could talk to the state.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's not like, once you start talking to them, you're locked in.
No. You're certainly, looking for, they want to see a plan. They also, you have CPA here, you just started that. And then some of that money comes to this board, correct?
Yes.
The 10% has to come
Yep.
for housing. So they want to see that. They want to see, do you have some kind of plan that you put together? You're working with Judy Barrett?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Judy knows this inside and out. I've worked with her in Hanson for a housing production plan.
Yeah.
And they like to see that housing production plan. They want to see that not only are you going to do one house, not only are you going, but you have a plan for the next 20 years. I think, I recently looked, what's the affordable housing number in this town? Is it 8%?
It's 9 something.
9 something? So you're very close to that 10%.
It's 9.93.
9.93, okay, so thank you. So you're very close to that.
Yes.
Where you can have a safe harbor. And you might have, in that inventory, you might have units that are gonna fall off in certain years.
Right.
So the housing production plan looks at that. It looks at Do you need in-laws or what they call granny flats? What's your zoning? Can you have special zoning in places? What is the developable, how much of the open land can be developed? A lot of your open land is swampland, right? So, or conservation land. So they look at those type of things on what you want to do. You do have the train in town. I'm surprised, how many apartments do you have along the tracks? Down by the senior center, maybe
but
some?
there's a couple on the horizon they want to build,
Yeah.
and then there's that new, what is it, the 3A, is that what it's called? Something, that new law where they house.
40B?
No,
No.
the new one that they, I think it's called 3A.
Oh, they have to have the multifamily units.
Oh,
The
where the
multifamily.
state, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Requiring
have information.
more housing, they're giving bricks to, more housing by train.
Yeah, it has to
Yeah.
be within a half mile
Yes.
of the tracks.
So those are the type of programs that you get. And again, someone like Judy can help you through those things because the agreements are fairly complicated. They might have unintended consequences. Some are beautiful, right? They go up, they're right on the tracks. You get a bunch of people who just want to live and commute into Boston every day and come and spend their money here.
Yeah.
And they're great citizens, and they're taken care of well in that. So, but you have to take a look at how they're going to be managed. If they just build it and walk away, then you have another issue.
Now, if we, I guess the ultimate goal is if we do a project, we obviously don't want to be landlords. So if we do a project, could the project eventually be turned over to you to run it?
Depends on what kind of project. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, we've run all sorts of different things, but it would depend on what kind of project. If it was a tax credit project, so that means you have investors, and the investors want to see people who have experience in managing tax credit properties. And so Abington doesn't have any of that experience. So what you could do in that case is make a deal with one of these companies that do it all the time. Again, I'll use Corcoran and Peabody and Beacon. And you say, well, we'll co-manage it for 4 years. And then if we've got all our certifications, if we're doing well, then you'll leave and we'll stay. The nice thing about the Housing Authority, now Brockton, obviously, we're employees of Brockton, but you have Ellen in the board. They're elected.
Yeah.
So if something's happening to the property that you don't like, the community has a public way to come to they could vote the board out. They can come to any board meeting. If it's a private developer, the door's closed.
Yeah.
We're here to make money. We'll run it properly. We'll do it by the regulations, but it's none of your business what we're doing. So that's I think the positive part about having a public landlord.
Now, the Housing Authority, does it just run, it doesn't just run senior housing, it also runs other housing, or is it all affordable in one way or another?
All affordable. We don't have any fair market. We could. If you did a tax credit property, you could have fair market properties. But in Abington, there's 112 elderly units. One is used for an office. There's 2 family units, and then there's 86 Section 8s. Now, you don't see those, right? But there's families that are living in town and out of town that have come through the waiting list through the town of Abington.
And are you guys in charge of that also?
Yeah.
So Section 8 and affordable housing and senior housing?
Mhm.
Okay. Very good.
One of the ways you can do affordable housing is project-based Section 8. So let's say the town had a piece of property and you wanted to build a duplex on it. You could apply to the Abington Housing Authority, would have to actually have an advertisement out for project-based vouchers. We would then award a contract to the owner of the property. That could be the Abington Housing Authority too, by the way. That can happen. And that's the subsidy that makes it affordable. So there are many different ways you can do that. You do have to, in building it, to even make the numbers work there, you do have to get subsidy somewhere.
Yeah.
State has community development block grants. They oftentimes will fund it with that. What did they fund the house in Easton with? Do you remember?
That was just through the Affordable Housing Trust.
Affordable Housing Trust had money there. I think some housing innovation funds went in there from the state. So you can cobble together things, but deals they take twists and turns.
Oh, yeah.
okay, we're talking about this, and then the state comes and says, well, we want you over here, you say, no, we want, and it takes twists and turns, and at times, just like any deal, you have to be willing to say, you know what, this isn't going in the direction we want. You have to be able to walk away. But you also have to be persistent in pushing it to where you want to be, because again, the beauty of this board here and the board that with the Abington Housing Authority is your local people. So the people in the state are nice people, right? But they don't live in Abington, and they don't know the problems you're dealing with here and what you're looking at. So that's why it's important that the board is involved and you're moving through on it.
Well, what would you like? Would you like to see the property that you currently own built up more, or would you rather? Or you probably you just want more.
More elderly housing would be, so more of any type of housing. Since we do mostly elderly housing, I would say that's what would be best.
Yeah.
Family housing is a much different thing. Right now, they're doing it scattered site. The best thing for families, my personal opinion, is the Section 8 program, because the people go out into the community and they're not all in one area. The elderly being in one area is nice. I mean, the Council on Aging loves it, comes over, and all the people there. When we were doing vaccines, the Board of Health came over, everybody's there. They have common issues in common, so it is nice to, the congregation of that population does have a lot of benefits.
Yeah. Any board members have questions? Would like to? You have a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm newer to town. The two locations, what are you keep saying Shar Ave, what is the other location?
Can you state your name and address, please?
501 Summer Street.
You drove by it to get here.
I drove by 4 of them, I thought were, so I wasn't quite sure which.
100 Lincoln Street. Lincoln Boulevard. It's as you go out here, it's the last units on your right. It's 40 units in a little circle.
On the street.
Yeah,
What's up on Dunbar, the two brick buildings up there, is that?
Those are just apartments,
That's apartments.
privately owned, yeah.
And 9.3% of the housing, does that count the one on Plymouth Street that's being built? Or is that not counted because it's not built yet?
What was the question?
Yes.
The senior living being built?
Oh.
It counts that already if it's not built?
I believe that because they are permitted or they've, put their application in, I believe that is included in that 9.93.
That's not senior, affordable, right?
It's
It's
age
senior.
Age
restricted,
Yeah,
restricted,
age restricted.
62 plus.
It's supposed to be senior.
yeah.
I just know if it wasn't done yet, if it was included.
I believe it is because when I went back and did the figures without that, it was the prior percentage, and then I added in those units and it brought it up to the 9.93.
Dennis, what do you have to add? Anything? Anything good?
In Easton, for years, the CPC, we funded the affordable housing, and they just built and built and built because they were trying to do big projects, and big projects are very time consuming and very difficult to get started and to see through to fruition. And it's a difficult thing. They took a different approach where they went for tax properties, land that was donated by the town, got into deals with the Habitat for Humanity and things like that to try and go smaller scale, 1 unit at a time, and then get the deed restriction on it so that that's into perpetuity, that you have that unit, that it's never going away. So that was one approach that we did take. And Mr. Tebow did mention that, the project in Brockton, it started in 2000 and 2012, it's finished, so that I'm not sure if you want to wait. It's going to take a long time to try and do something big, and to have the funds, I don't.
Right.
Easton, we came on at the start of the CPA, and we're a 3% community, so, we get 100% match. We're not 100% anymore, we did for a long time, we got 100% match, which built our coffers
Sure, right away.
significantly right away. That, I know the matches aren't as great anymore because the amount of communities that participate in the CPA.
Does the CPA, you have a housing trust there, I'm assuming?
Yep.
In Easton. Do they have like a set formula where they get a certain percentage every year? Or is it just?
They get the 10%.
They just get the 10%.
Whatever that 10% would be. I think it's somewhere 220,000 somewhere this year. that automatically goes for them, and then the
Right.
reserves are always there too, that, could be additional funding for.
I mean, have you ever borrowed against it, used this?
We do have a lot of debt service, yeah.
Yeah.
With interest rates low, and some of the projects we took on were in the millions, so
Yeah.
it was far better off to finance it with a low debt service and go that route to keep our own financial backing strong, our own financial stable.
Sure.
I can just say one other thing. Before the recent uptick in expenses, it's expensive to do this. You'll get sticker shock.
Mhm. Yeah.
And your procurement will be, is it government procurement?
Yep.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means that you go out, you advertise it, you have certain restrictions on.
Yeah.
And it's a very expensive way to do it.
Sure.
Like prevailing wage, did that approve?
Yeah, and that's why when you get into I think when you get into like Habitat for Humanity, we had a parcel on Foundry Street in Easton that we put out an RFP for, and BAMSI is developing an 8-unit house for brain damaged people, so that, those are 8 units that will have a restriction on them for.
Well, ironically, today we received an email from Habitat for Humanity who want to come and meet with us, because we're a new board and we're started, so, which is great for us. Now, how does that work? Does that work different? You're talking about Habitat for Humanity house in Easton, but that's got nothing to do with the housing authority, correct? Or
No, nothing to do with the housing authority. It's all the Affordable Housing Trust that they arrange it. And usually they get a piece of property donated by the town,
Yeah.
and then they go from there. I mean, you can't, 200 and something thousand for the property and then try to develop it. All of a sudden, it's way out of your range already, and you haven't put a nail in the ground.
Right.
So.
They mentioned that there's two Habitat for Humanity houses in Abington.
The second one was Wilbur Street.
Oh.
I asked
okay.
Liz because I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I remember the Charles Street one. I don't remember.
Dennis, I just wanted to backtrack a bit. When you said trying to do big projects, what do you consider big?
I would say anything you get over 15 units is going to be difficult. I think even 15 units is probably going to be difficult.
So if you get above 4 units at one place, you get all sorts of different regulations, fire department. So, it does get more expensive. But as Dennis said, if you now get into 15, 16, you're talking, so you're talking about a bunch of money coming in that you don't have control over. As soon as the money comes in that you don't have control over, you start losing control of the project, of what it's going to be, how it's going to happen. So you just have to be more careful. But what Dennis said in Easton, in this place, by the way, that BAMSI is building is absolutely gorgeous, and it's situated in such a nice place. I have to say that. I mean, it's in the woods. It's just a nice place. So you can do some very nice things, and obviously it's much needed for that population. I don't know if you've ever worked with DMR. It's not DMR anymore, is it? It's Department of Mental Retardation.
Mental health.
Yeah, Department of no, not mental health, no. But they're desperately in need. Think about if you had a Down syndrome child, and now you're getting older, and where's that person going to live? And
When they shut down all the state schools, that's where did everybody go?
yes, yeah. So I know there's one in Easton, an old church that they converted. The parents actually developed it, and they had some help from some government trust, and that's been a beautiful house in a nice neighborhood that's worked out well. So we're talking about elderly, absolutely. There's the Habitat for Humanity. We talked about you can't buy a house, right? And these people putting sweat equity, another wonderful thing they can do. And then there's the different populations that you have that are there, and oftentimes, so in those cases, the advocates for that population comes in and does an awful lot of work. I would imagine BAMSI, once they responded, it was turn it over, give them a little money,
It's basically this.
and then inspect it, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do.
So they'll manage it, and do they own it?
There's a deed restriction on it.
Oh, right,
so-
I understand that.
But they do manage it.
Let me ask you this, because being in Brockton, you might know something about this now. We had a community engagement meeting a couple weeks ago about our center school project. Center school was an abandoned school, and I talked about it, what we're gonna do with it. We've had some ideas around, but one person got on there, and he's a bigwig at Old Colony YMCA, and mentioned that they're always looking for help with some housing, which I found surprising, but he's on the board of trustees there, and he mentioned it. Do you have any projects that use funding, like, from private, groups like that, or?
Yeah, no, we've worked with the Y on many projects. We did many houses around town through Youth Build. Those went to families. We worked on the old convent at St. Patrick's on Father Kinney Way now, which is a house, a reunification house where people who, for whatever reasons, the families were split up and they're coming back together. That's been there. That's something we helped develop with them. BAMS, the Y is, again, they deal with special populations, so the reunifications, the men are coming from prison usually. That's how they're being reunified. School projects, we've done school projects, very, very, very difficult. Lots of asbestos. When was it built? Usually you're better off tearing it down. The best one we did in Brockton was the BRA tore it down and we just got the lot. After going through it and having our people look at it, it was, extremely, prohibitively expensive to renovate it.
Yeah.
We were involved in one in Hanson that we, beautiful schoolhouse, absolutely gorgeous. Windows, 14-foot windows, and we'd try to replace a
Is that one up by the
14-foot.
new police station, or is that on the other?
Yes, it's on the same road of this whole same, it's just before that on the right-hand, same side.
Yeah.
Beautiful looking building. Window breaks, that's your budget for the year. So again, be careful about schools. They're better off. In fact, in Hanson, the McQuan School was offered to us. We went through that and said, we can't touch it. There's just not enough money to do it.
Now, they offered to you, now what do you mean by that? They said, would you be interested in coming in and?
Take it, yeah.
Just take it. And then how would you proceed then?
That's the problem.
But let's say it wasn't a school, let's just say it was another building. How would you proceed? Where would you get the funds to renovate it?
That's, again, you'd have to have a plan before you accepted it. The reason towns usually want to get rid of the schools is they can't afford to heat it. It's an empty building and the cost of doing it. So now they're handing you over what I would call an alligator. It needs heat. It's not gonna give you anything.
Yeah.
It's just gonna start, so you have to have a plan prior to that. So usually what happens is, you have these groups, and this is not the Abington Housing Authority or the Brockton Housing Authority right now, who are looking for pieces of property, who have put together financial packages, who have some risk money that they can put out there to do that, and convert them. So that's.
Now, I've seen some of these projects, and the funding is just so varied, and so many different funding sources, and state, federal, private funds, and is that the sort of stuff that, I would envision?
That's the stuff that Dennis was telling you to stay away from.
Okay.
We used to do the home program for the city of Brockton, and we were involved in a lot of those projects. And you would have 20 different funding sources. We were just one. We were a small part of it.
Sure.
And so that was 20 different regulators. Banks would come in and they'd want to see it a certain way. HUD would come in and tell you what kind of 2x4s to use. DHCD might be arguing, no, we don't agree with that 2x4. it really gets. Then you have money that might have all sorts of environmental ties to it, and so they're only, not their only, but their primary goal is to make sure it is 100% efficient, which is very expensive.
Yep.
We just turned down some money for a project we're doing because they were going to give us a small amount of money for something that was going to cost us 10 times that amount. But it was, it was energy efficient.
Right. So if the town of Abington had a project that we would like to turn over to the housing authority at some point, would you look at it and give us an opinion, or?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. So there'd be a couple things that would happen. We'd want to know about it sooner than later.
Sure.
The first thing we'd do is walk through with our capital people, take a look. What are the things that are of real concern here. And then there would be a brainstorming, what does the town want to do with it? Where are the potential funding sources for this? How, what are the cycles for it? That kind of thing.
So maybe like the right of first refusal, you look at it first and say, yeah, we'd
sure,
be
yeah.
interested in it, and then, okay.
Yeah.
And then the property that you have, we would like to work with you somehow, if we can help, please
Yeah,
keep
how
us
does,
in
how
mind.
does that process
So-
work? Because there is land.
Right, so
And
There's
if
land
people-
that you own, but there's also, Abington has a lot of land that we could do.
So that's, again, you have to make, so you have this board here, meeting here tonight, it's in public, it's good. You want to make sure the rest of the community is getting buy-in on it, and once you have, that you're confident in that, you can certainly go to the state. They are looking for communities who are willing to offer land, and then see what's available.
But
We-
would the project be, like you said, when you get investors, or when you get a company that comes in like Cochrane or Peabody, I think people in Abington are saying, the senior need is they want senior housing like Shaw Ave. They
Mhm.
want senior housing like Levitt Terrace.
Mhm.
They don't want the expensive, they can't afford
Right.
the affordable housing, age restricted, which some can. But I think the majority of people, when they're saying affordable senior housing, they're thinking Shaw Ave. So how does that come about, that?
The same way.
Same way.
You have the land.
We have some land.
Right.
And so the same way we go through a process, there's funds out there. There are a bunch of acronyms. The one that's coming to mind is HIF, Housing Innovation Fund. So we go in and say, we have some property here. We're talking to the mass housing about some CDBG funds coming to this. We want some housing innovation funds, and then there's a number of other little pools of money that are there that you could put together and try to do a Chapter 667. That's what you're talking about. Chapter 667 is the law that it's built under. Everybody loves elderly. They want to build that.
But how
so
does that get initiated?
It's just an inquiry into the state and then finding out.
Is that something you do?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And so I would talk to a person at DHCD, say that the town has expressed interest in doing something, what's available, and then there are cycles that come out for applications. Again, but there has to be some thought and some planning. Now that's, by the way, not something that that Dennis and I are doing here in Abington. That would be something completely different. And to be quite honest with you, we're doing some of that in Brockton. We hired another firm to work along with us to do that. It's a lot of work doing the day-to-day operations of all these units, regardless of the other stuff. So that's why, again, the model that he spoke of, putting an RFP out, request for proposals. We've got some property. We'd like to see it developed into this, and having someone come in who has the need and considering those different things is attractive to a board like this.
But if you already have the property under the control of the housing authority,
Mhm.
there must not be funding available. You would have done something on those pieces, right? Correct or no? Or is there anything we can do to help?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
When it comes time, the state would say, what's the town, how much is the town ready, willing to ante up? I mean, we've done that many times on capital projects in the town of Easton, where we'd say we'd want to put on new roofs. We have enough money to do 4 roofs. We have 7 buildings. Well, you pay for three roofs, and they do, right? They've done that. So that's I mean, that was a deal with the state. We got extra money to do different things.
Yeah.
Same thing. There's I guess, if to answer your question, there's no, oh, you do this. It's you open up a conversation, you say the town is interested. So I would say that the Abington Housing Authority has been approached by the town of Abington's Affordable Housing Trust. They would like to see some development of elderly housing. What is available, and what would you suggest that we start taking a look at? And you start a conversation. And things come along. So we have a governor's race coming up. So Governor Baker has certain priorities. The next governor will probably have different priorities. And that does make a big difference. I've seen projects stop because of a change at the governor's office, and then new things start. So
So you're saying wait till the election's over?
no, I'm saying start the discussion. No,
At least
if
talk
you-
about
See
it.
who's, yeah,
So you always, there's this kingdom's window of opportunity. It's a concept that have the idea ready. Get the concept. And so now you're talking, it's a pretty simple concept. We would like some additional elderly housing. Put it out there that we're ready. And then when the opportunity comes, then do you remember, this was under President Obama when they had, what was it called? Not ARPA, the ARA money, American Rescue Plan
Oh,
money.
yeah.
Suddenly, towns and cities were getting these big chunks of money for shovel-ready
Yeah.
projects. Well, if you have that, if you have the plan, if you're ready to go, that's a shovel-ready project. Money has showed up, and now, oh, look at an opportunity that wasn't there a couple of months ago is now here, and we're ready to move forward.
Could you go to your board, which was the members right here, and bring the idea back that would like to help?
Sure.
I mean, I don't know, because you've got the property, and I guess it would be up to you to decide, would you rather put something here, would you rather put something on Shore Ave?
Yeah, what the state worries about usually is the operating performer. So, okay, we'll come up with $1 million and help you out to build it. So it's built. We don't want to own the state. We don't want to fund this forever.
Right.
So what's your plan moving forward? And so that's something that we can be creative about and take a look at. They might put low-level subsidies in there so that it's easier to do.
Well, how do these get funded in perpetuity?
Again, back in 1968, 1969, 1970, apparently the society, I was only 9, was said, hey, this is a big need, we need to put a bunch of money in, and they did. This didn't happen just here. I mean, it happened across the country. Millions of units were built for elderly in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And then it stopped. In fact, on the federal side, there's a Faircloth Act. Senator Faircloth put the bill out that no more federal public housing could be built. None. So in Brockton, we have 1,600 units of federal public housing. We can't build 1,601. If we tear down 2, we can build 2 more. But you can't go past that number.
Okay.
So that's, I mean, that's just, I can't really answer it for you, but that was an amazing time where people said, this is what we have to do, and they did it. Think about it, at one time, they went and built all these VA hospitals, these huge VA hospitals. When was that, the 50s, right after World War II? They're not building them now, they're closing them down.
Yeah.
So.
Does anybody else have any questions for Tom or Dennis?
no, I guess we just need to say,
Yeah.
So
Start the conversation.
start the conversation.
all right, I'll make some phone calls. We have a meeting on the 19th, and we'll put on discuss the affordable housing meeting.
Okay,
Because we're getting the 10%, we would like to get more, we'd like to get, 75% of the CPA money every year. It's not gonna happen, but, I'd like to get more than that 10%, and this would give us, a good way to get more money that we could use if we, if we tell them that it's for a dedicated purpose, and, I was gonna say something really intelligent, but I guess I forgot.
Is the other money being spent, so it's parks and recreation,
Historical.
historic, is it being spent?
Yeah, mostly park and rec, historical, but not, our money's not being spent, it's being put into an account.
Yeah, no, that's not unusual to build up an account at the beginning.
Yeah.
yeah,
But again, if it's being spent and there's a line in those things for parks and historical, it's awful hard to get more. The statute says 10% minimum, it can be more. And if we have a nice, attractive project, we probably could make a presentation to the CPA board. Now, do we know anybody on that board? Is Jen on that board?
No.
No, but
Don't we have by statute, a person on that?
We're supposed to. It's supposed to be someone from the Housing Authority on the board. That's why I'm on it in Easton.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know someone's from historical's on there.
There should be
Park and Rec,
Park
but I
and
don't
Rec,
know.
and there should be one from Housing.
I don't know.
Unless something's changed since Easton came on board, but
I don't
not
know
to my
who's on it.
knowledge.
You're on?
Well, actually, no, because, Bruce Hughes is on there, right?
Bru-
Or he was.
Right.
Bruce is, and he was,
Yeah, he's on it.
he was.
He was chairperson of this board,
Or,
and he was on
Yeah, but that wasn't
the
housing
previous,
authority.
yeah, it was a housing.
Oh, not Housing Authority.
It was the,
looking it up.
what was the name of the committee before this? This is the Affordable Housing Committee, this is the Affordable Housing Trust Committee, right? So he was on the Affordable Housing, so yeah, I think we do have a member on that.
I don't think
No,
so.
it'd be
No.
housing authority.
No,
No, not the housing, okay. So you think a member of the Housing Authority itself
Right.
is supposed to be on it?
The board.
Yeah, it's blank on the
Yeah.
website.
on the
Oh,
website.
There you go, there's another committee for you, Alan, good job.
I never knew about this.
I think Kelly is,
There we go.
I'm talking right, Kelly is.
Yeah, she is.
So we are talking right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Excellent.
thank you, very nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming, we
Keep-
appreciate it.
If you could just give me a call on that?
Yep.
Okay, thank
I will.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
And the
coming.
sunshine is out, the wind stopped, we're going outside.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. Update on the Center School project, I don't know anything else. Discussion on community engagement meeting on 4/27. What were your thoughts of that meeting, guys? The Zoom meeting, I was there, I was actually up here with Alex Haggerty, so I did participate. I couldn't get the password, I brought my own laptop in, but I couldn't get the password, so I just had to watch. But he had a good presentation, he had we broke into our own group and, we had some, I think we had like 7 or 8 people there, that came in. So they didn't have computer access and so, a couple of elderly women that live in that neighborhood too. And even Alex
Yeah.
Haggerty's mom was there because, they're neighbors.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts of the meeting? Ellen, were you able to attend?
Yes,
Yeah.
from Oregon, or
And I
Oregon.
know that Mike missed it,
I
but.
watched the beginning up until they went off to the groups,
Yeah.
and it was.
Any feedback, any
Somebody
thoughts?
did get back to me that they weren't put into a group, and they were a little upset about that.
Okay.
But I don't know what happened. I said you could still comment,
It was funny, one of the elderly women that was in my group said, "Where are they?" And I go, "I don't know, the company that's doing this is from Hingham, so maybe she's from Hingham." And then Liz J gets up on the screen, "Where's she?" And I go, "She's probably at home." So Liz gets back up on there and goes, "Where is she?" And I go, "She's at Joe Shea's house." And all of a sudden, the volume came on and Liz goes, "Yes, I'm at Joe Shea's house." I had to explain to her, I go, "I wasn't," because she couldn't, the whole Zoom concept kind of threw her for a loop, so.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest thing to do.
No, it is not,
No.
it's
On
not.
COVID.
Especially if you've never done it before.
I'm not a good Zoom person.
I've never done the breakout room before.
No.
I think it went well. I think,
Yeah.
we all stated our opinions, and obviously there were differences of opinion, right?
It was.
Yeah. And
Wouldn't
we
be
just,
normal if it wasn't.
the consensus, I wrote some notes here. Let's see. So each group, I thought I had a summary. Did you have a summary of?
I didn't have like a breakdown, but the consensus that I heard from when they brought the groups together was that they did not want the property sold. They wanted to keep the woodlands, they wanted to keep the playground, they wanted to keep Murphy Field.
The majority of the people, yeah.
If the building were to be used, they wanted it used for senior housing.
Affordable senior housing.
They also wanted to keep it in the same footprint.
In the
Yes.
same
Yes.
footprint.
That was another.
There was discussion of adding a 3rd floor, and I think, it was kind of, probably not, but.
Yeah, but I think the big thing was they don't want the property sold. So
Well,
I just,
no, oh, I didn't get that from it.
yeah, I did.
They don't, okay.
Yeah, because, well, in our group anyway,
They
because,
wanted to retain the park and have affordable senior housing, but I don't think there was much, Because it was made clear when the town manager got on that he said that we're not gonna be a landlord.
Well, that's what he said, the town didn't want to be a landlord, but it was a consensus that they didn't want to sell the property because they didn't want to lose control of it.
Right,
Yeah,
right, they didn't want to sell it and to
Right.
the highest bidder and have somebody
Right.
build something else there.
right.
Okay. So I think you're spot on. Okay.
Yeah, but it was good, I thought it was good, you know?
It was good, I was surprised, like, I was surprised, 'cause I didn't know who was in any of the groups, I didn't know who anybody was, the names didn't show up.
Right.
And then Wayne Smith got up, and I was impressed by what he said about, because he's on the board of directors for the Old Colony YMCA, and he talked about, there's a wealth of funds there, so I thought that was kind of neat to hear him. Didn't recognize him at first, now that he's retired, he's got a
I
big
know he's got the
beard.
beard.
Seems to be the motif for the retired guys.
Exactly.
Some work out better than others.
Anything else on that? I mean, they're supposed to do an online survey, right, is that's finished?
That's till May 11th, I think.
So,
So,
Oh, so that's done.
Yeah, that's
So we should be getting the results of that soon.
Is that only the people on the Zoom meeting?
No, no, no.
Oh,
That
There
was the
anybody in
survey,
town.
that you could go online and do the survey.
Actually, it was I think you had to list your town.
Yeah, but it was online, it was also, they handed them out at town meeting, and the link was all over the
Yeah.
place, so.
Mhm.
And they handed it out at some of the senior housing and different
Yep, senior
places
center,
around
town
town.
hall. Right when you walked in town hall, they were right there.
Do
It was
you-
on the website.
I put down discussion of similar local projects, and I know that Alan's been watching closely over there in Rockland.
Yes.
So that's kind of a neat project. Can you give us a little breakdown? I know you gave us a link to it and printed an article about it, but now that's the church, that's the school, the
The
church
school.
over there in
They
Rockland.
closed the school a couple of years ago.
And now, is the town involved, or they're just doing the permitting, right, I think?
So this is Connolly, so that's developer Connolly and Partners. They're the ones who are developing it. And most of the town boards have expressed approval for it. I don't, you're sort of catching me off guard here, Kenny. This is in February.
Right.
They ran into a problem, but they solved the problem.
Yes, there was
It the piping,
Yeah, the plate piping.
the clay piping.
Oh,
but-
that's right, yeah.
They have asbestos like that guy said in schools?
Everybody has asbestos, all these old
Yeah.
people, sure.
Well, Center School has asbestos, we know that.
Getting me get out with broken windows.
All right. So,
But that was very helpful when you shared that stuff, and I think
Thank
someone,
you.
it might have been someone shared another school.
the one in Bridgewater.
Well, yeah,
Upon-
that-
Yeah.
it's all, yeah, it's all very helpful.
Now that,
Yeah,
I think some of these projects have scared people because they've increased the size, added buildings,
Right.
gone up higher
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some of the examples that they used during the breakout meeting, I think that they would have been better off using that Rockland project as an example. Because unless I'm wrong, aren't they just keeping it, I think they're just keeping it to that main building, but I'm not positive.
yes, they're keeping just that building, they're not adding on to it.
I was impressed by the one in Bridgewater Center. If you go by Bridgewater Center, you'll see it. It's an old school, and they were able to use all three aspects of the CPA money. So in other words, housing, because they're rehabbing the housing, and they're adding additional housing. Park, recreation money, because they're keeping or adding a park in there. And also historical, because it's an old school, and
So they kept it.
they're keeping it, historical. So it's kind of a neat, and just, you can envision all three things happening at this school, if the project was to move forward. I guess the big thing is the review of the building, the code review they're calling it. We still don't have any word on that, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Correct. But isn't it due to happen soon?
Was that Habib?
Yes, didn't they
Yes.
didn't they go through the building last Thursday or something?
Yeah, they did say there was a date, but I don't know.
So what these guys are doing is going in and check out for asbestos, check to see if, the bones are good, check to see what kind of issues are gonna come up for a developer, because if it goes, before we can do anything else, it's all good to have ideas as what we wanna do with it, but I guess you have to find out if you can do things.
If you can even do it.
Right, so, and that's something that I think I've been fighting for a couple of years now. Just go in and see if you can do anything with it.
Right.
And it's, whatever happens at this school is basically gonna be the same thing at the North School. It's the same building, and it's funny too, because Liz pulled me aside and she goes, "We can't find the plans for the center school." I go, "But you had them up on," she goes, "That's the plans for the North School, because they're identical."
Yeah.
Because they are identical, so it's the same school, it's just a mirror, And I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned at the breakout meeting, I'm embarrassed to say I've never, ever set foot in that school,
In center school?
ever. Every other school in town, I've been a student at, but I've never, ever set foot in that school. It's just the way to say it. I've been in the parking lot,
Yeah.
I wrote graffiti on the wall. No, I'm kidding, that wasn't me. Does anybody else want to talk about the center school project? I think we'll probably delve more into it at the next meeting, because we should definitely have the Habib report, so.
Can I ask one last question? I promise.
No, you can ask as many questions as you like.
What is affordable senior rent?
If it's a housing authority property, it's based upon your income.
So but if it's just a senior living only, it's your income?
Yes.
If you're talking about like Shaw Ave or Levitt Terrace down here, it's typically about 30% of your income.
And so that it works that way. I'm getting close.
It's like a percentage
Right.
of your income. It's not market rent.
Right, and it
There's
could,
no
it could be,
set when it's always.
and if your only income is social security, it's 30% of that,
Right.
so.
Right.
That's why they're good to have, because a lot of people, have to just rely on their social security.
And the affordable housing, that's based on like percentages. It could be 80%, 60%, 40%, all the way down to like 20% is all
I didn't know
different.
the senior was kind of the same as that, that's why I was.
That's why we're trying to stress the fact that affordable senior housing is a lot different than,
Senior housing.
senior housing, because we want it to be, you say ultra affordable, I don't even know how to explain it, but similar to what the housing authority people.
Subsidized.
Yeah.
Yeah, subsidized, thank you, subsidized
I'm-
affordable.
Going through the Zero Summer Street too, because I live on Summer Street and they keep going back and forth. So can you actually really say it's gonna be affordable senior?
What is gonna be,
If you're gonna build this affordable senior, everybody wants it to be affordable senior.
we would like it, but we don't know what's gonna happen. They talk a lot about RFPs, that it's gonna depend on what the funding sources are, it's gonna depend upon what the RFP says. We could say, we'd like it to be, but who's gonna subsidize it?
Right.
That's the problem. We could ask, we want it to be built, we want it to be affordable senior housing, but if we just say that, we have to come up with some options as to how they can afford that. So we need money from the government, we need money from the state, we need money from,
Yeah, because developers don't like it because it's not profitable. So the Plymouth Street, that's age restricted.
And
It's
that's
affordable.
private development.
It's private, but it's affordable, age restricted, so it's over 62, so there's 144 units. So like, I think it's like 30-something are affordable. So that would be based on the, 80, 60, that would depend on if it's 20% affordable or 25%.
and that's based upon the average income for
Medium
people.
income
Yeah,
for the area, yeah.
And did you guys go to that Zoom meeting?
I worked.
Okay, so they talked a lot about that in there, they talked
Yeah,
about the.
that's why I'm bothering
And
you
it was
No,
crazy
it's
to
fine.
think like, one person was, they talked about the professions, guy's a car mechanic and he has 2 kids, he can only afford,
Right.
30%.
Yeah, they did have the
affordable.
whole chart of low income, very low income,
And that,
but I don't have it printed out.
and that meeting was recorded, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe it was on cable TV when I was looking for the selectmen's meeting last night.
Yeah.
I noticed that they had it there, but I
Is
don't know
Kevin
if they
still here?
showed the breakout rooms.
We can ask him.
I believe he was.
But even just
Okay.
if people
If he's gone, it's not a
look
big deal.
at the beginning part,
Right,
you know?
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Donna, look and see if that's on cable.
Okay.
A lot of your questions will be answered. It shows you the whole pie chart and,
We go back and forth because it's really confusing because you can say affordable and the rent can still be $2,000.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
well,
Right.
that's
I'm
Affordable.
not-
trying to get as much as
Who?
I can because I've got a
Exactly.
40B meeting going next, so I'm trying to keep both of them straight.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, so the private-owned affordable, that's just, it's a little bit lower market rent for a few units. The minimum amount of units that they have to do to make it, a 40B affordable.
Which meeting was that?
A Zoom meeting for the community engagement Zoom meeting
Center School.
on 4/27.
I have not seen it on the YouTube
Okay.
channel, but I did see something about it on cable yesterday. It wasn't on today because I looked again because I wanted to watch it.
I will tell you that when I said on the Board of Selectmen, I felt confident at the meetings, but when I said in these meetings, I don't feel confident because I really don't know a lot about this yet. And there's so much, we just learned tonight, there's so much more to learn. It's crazy.
Right, well, we're new, so we have to
Yes,
start
are.
somewhere.
So that's why I do like when Liz or the town manager are here. I think it helps, because, they can answer the questions. Because the next question is update on budget earmark projects and review of other possible affordable housing locations in Abington. I just threw that on the agenda. I was hoping, Kevin is here, Kevin Dodge, we just wanted to know if that's up on.
So you're asking for breakout rooms?
No.
The
The-
meeting.
So the meeting will go up tonight, because I had.
Not tonight's meeting, the Zoom meeting that we had,
Yes, for the center.
4/27,
yes. That's on,
That will go up tonight, because I
Okay.
cleared it with Liz. I want to make sure that
Okay.
it was okay for it to go up on Abington
Yep.
Cam's
awesome.
okay.
YouTube channel. Again, we didn't record it, but we wanted to make sure we could.
Okay.
Are the breakout rooms showing in that? Okay, I was wondering how they were going to do
They
that.
said they wouldn't.
No,
Okay.
They said that wouldn't be
Just
part
the
of it.
main meeting prior to.
And then I
Okay.
think the discussion at the end when
That's
they,
been running on the government channel for the past.
Okay.
Yeah, it was yesterday, I was looking for the selectmen's meeting, I noticed that I had missed it, and I looked today and it wasn't on today, so. But you're gonna put it on the YouTube channel,
What's that?
the Center School one?
That'll go up today, so
Okay.
it'll go
All
up
right.
tonight.
Okay, great,
Again, I cleared it with Liz this afternoon about putting it up.
all right.
We were just curious as to, because a lot of questions about affordable housing, so that would help. So thank you, Kevin, appreciate that. Sorry to drag you back in if you were.
Fine.
Update on budget earmark projects and review of other possible affordable housing locations in Abington. Again, without Liz, I don't know what's going on with the budget earmark projects. I know that there was a company involved that was going to look at, I printed this out a while ago. This is the property that they were talking about now. He mentioned the lots up on the right-hand side on Glenowitz Way coming in,
Yes,
which is, and I'll give you guys this.
I don't know who owns that,
We do, the town of Abington.
the town of Abington,
Bought it.
okay.
And then
on
they
the other side.
Yeah, where they cleared that lot, I
Yes.
didn't know if
Yeah.
it was, I didn't think it was Housing Authority, I thought,
No,
I
so
wasn't
here-
sure.
I think it's the town.
So, I think I have it for everybody here. So this is the lots that he was talking about.
Thank you.
And you see, if you hold it up like this, coming up Glenowitz Way,
Yeah, it's these three,
no, it's those three.
these three.
Those
yeah.
three little ones. 2ABC. And then the Housing Authority property directly across from the high school. I mean, the first one is where the Housing Authority, senior housing
Oh,
is.
this
Right,
one
where Lemon
Yeah, this is,
Terraces, yeah.
it actually comes right here.
Right.
And this is the property that they would not let,
I don't know, do you wanna see that?
the fire station
Right,
do a cut.
get it
through.
right away, because
Right.
It's along the driveway, it's opposite the high school. And then the other lots are down behind, where the real estate office is.
Yeah, I have a spare one.
On the left,
Yeah.
there's 3 lots there that you could possibly put something.
The town bought those a couple of years back, and,
And then the other property is directly across from the high school,
yeah, it's right, boom,
right?
it's full of deer.
It is full of deer.
So, the only reason I printed this map out was because the town manager talked about them looking at this property at possible locations. And again, that's why I asked the question, you have, Housing Authority has the property, I mean, what's it gonna take to put on there, you know?
Well, I think he just said, we've kind of brought it
Yeah.
to him to say, you know,
Well, there's definitely.
let's start the conversation.
Not to keep using the same, but
Right.
Let's start the
I'm not so
conversation.
sure about those 3 pieces of property coming up the road, that seems a little, but, I mean, it would abut the condos that are right there, but, I mean, I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, I don't know, I'm not a builder, you know?
Ken, what is the acreage on the property right here? You put it next to it so I can't read what it says.
Is it 4? Yeah, you had to have me, right? And who's got better eyes than I do?
I just got new glasses. 4.98.
Yeah, that's almost 5 acres. I think a little of it might be, it's not a swamp, but it might be a little wet, but I don't think it's really wet.
I don't know.
We actually, at one point before the fire department got shut down, turned down, we would talk about a dog park there. You know, we went to a meeting and got turned down for that too, so, but it worked out good, better for us. It might work out better for the, so I really don't have much to add on that. Other possible affordable housing locations in Abington. I mean, Abington owns a lot of property. I know we sold some off, but there's still a lot of open space. And there is a real big piece off of High Street that it goes behind, I think it goes all the way to, I think it's Linwood, behind like Walmart. At one point, they had talked about, years ago, the school department owned it, and it was gonna be a school there. But that, they reverted it back to the town, so the town owns it. And it's wet back there, but there is a lot of upland, so I mean, you drive into it, I've seen it, it'd be a good location, I think.
Where is it again?
It's off High Street.
Yeah.
The corner of High Street and 123.
Oh, okay,
You know,
yeah.
and it goes in all behind Walmart, and then I think it actually has entrance off of Linwood too, so. There's a big chunk of property there the town owns, and there's a lot of other little pieces that they own, here and there. Which brings me, it's not on the agenda, but we got that, you saw that email today.
Or
from
Habitat.
The Habitat for Humanity, so I'd like to bring them into our next meeting. I thought that was kind of a cool thing. And I actually, one of my questions to them would be, if we give you a big portion of property, can you build a house that's more than one person, you know, more than one? And he mentioned an 8-housing unit for the Habitat, so.
I do know they do multifamilies.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it could be that could be more affordable housing. I don't know if they're considered affordable housing, although I think they are. I honestly don't know. I know there's deed restrictions and they can't sell it,
Right.
but I don't know if they're affordable housing or not. So I guess that's one of the questions.
You mean considered in the numbers?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it truly, and you guys had a question about, so the Habitat for Humanity, thank you for a quick response. I guess they reached out to Liz, below his email. I'm reaching out to the Affordable Housing Committee to see if there's an opportunity for the South Shore Habitat to partner with the town to increase the number of affordable homeownership opportunities for low-income households in the area, which is kind of what we want to do, right? We are looking to partner with towns in our service area that are currently working towards addressing the shortage of affordable home ownership opportunities. We have recently completed 2 homes in Duxbury, Easton, and Westwood, and plan to break ground on 2 homes in Hingham this summer, and are permitting 2 in Cohasset. We have delivered 63 homes over the last 35 years. As you know, South Shore Habitat for Humanity built 2 Habitat homes in Abington, the most recent one being in 2002. We are interested in building more and assist Abington in achieving the state mandated designated 10% of its housing stock as affordable. We are experienced in creating friendly 40B projects, typically through smaller town-owned parcels of land. So I would definitely ask them to come to our next meeting if that's agreeable to the board. I think that's right up our alley. That's really good. And learn more about how that works. Discussion on how to move forward with the development of an action plan. Now, we have a list affordable housing goals and strategies that were in the, I think everybody got one in the beginning, the affordable Abington Housing Production Plan. It was, I think it was 2019, I think it was completed. And we have goals and ways for our, one of the goals is to form a housing trust fund. Guess what? We already accomplished one of our goals. We did that.
There we go.
You know, create housing units through adaptive reuse of existing buildings and town-owned properties, promote a diversity of housing, establishing affordable housing trust. We did that. Implementation. They talk about different ways to change zoning. You know, work with the town boards to change zoning to make it more adopted an inclusionary zoning bylaw. It tells you how to do it. So what I would like to do is work on this, but also one of the priorities, and I'm touching upon it now, is because it talks about create action plan and secure funding mechanism to capitalize trust. That's what I would like to see, and I think we're all in agreement to get an action plan. I still don't know how to go about it. So,
Well, I think we are kind of going about it, because you're gonna get Habitat for Humanity in, we got, you know,
right, but
just today to say, how do we do the senior housing? I mean, we're finding out how to do these things.
everybody speaks really highly of this Barrett.
Yes,
You
Judy
know,
Barrett.
Judy Barrett.
Yeah, and I would like to get her to a meeting, and maybe she's busy with this thing, but maybe right after that, and say, we need to create an action plan. And obviously it's gonna cost money, but we have money, because that's gonna help us, you know, because we have so many goals, you know. We talked about affordable housing, first-time home buyers loans, and Ellen mentioned it, and it's funny too, because the day she mentioned it, the Abington Bank's doing it. I heard commercials on the radio, 2 different banks are doing it, so it must be a state project where you do it, and we can steer people towards that. But, you know, and another thing, when I was on the sewer commission, I went to Abington Bank and I said, will you give, people are installing sewer in the houses, can you give them a better rate? You know, if we send them to your bank, and they work with us to get a better rate. So, you know, we can tell people about this affordable, but we should definitely, that should be part of our action plan, and establish our goals. We know what our goals are, but we want to, how can we accomplish these goals? So, a lot of the stuff that I just talked about is already in, you know, in this housing production plan. So we need to focus on some of that stuff, but I would like to start by having Habitat for Humanity here. We can talk to them. Maybe even seeing if Ms. Barrett can come to that meeting and have her on first, so she can stick around and listen, give us some insight into the, you know, dealing she has with the Habitat. So if that's agreeable to the board, I guess June meeting is, what's the date of the June meeting? Do you remember? I just want to make sure everybody's going to be able to be here. I mean, June's tough, because it's the summertime, but.
Is it? Are we going to have some of this year?
Oh, I know. Well, as soon as it comes, though, we'll be.
Yeah, it'll be coming the end of the week.
June 14th.
June 14th.
Flag Day.
Okay. We'll all be rested from the fireworks the weekend before, so.
Flag Day. Okay.
So I'm going to ask if they can come to the meeting. Is that all right?
Yes.
All right, good. It's exciting. So we'll talk to her about an action plan. We'll talk to her about Habitat for Humanity. Update on 40B projects currently being planned in Abington. I know that members of the audience, but I also know that you're big on this.
Yeah, can
Any
I just
updates?
ask Donna before
Donna.
she leaves? Did you go to conservation? Did they do zero summer?
It's continued.
Continued, okay. Thank you.
Anything else going on about 40B projects planned in Abington? I mean, we need to become, I think we need to become more 40B friendly and work with people to get them to bring those numbers up so we don't get railroaded, because that's the way I look at it. You know, if we're not at 10%, they can circumvent a lot of things, you know.
Right, and
But
that's
if-
what's happening with Zero Summer Street right
Right.
now.
Exactly.
I know we keep talking about Zero Summer Street, but
Yeah.
Well, that's
it's
the only one going on right now, so I mean,
And it's a big one,
is it the only one
and
going
it
on?
will get us to the
For
10%. Yeah,
Well, Glenn's is considered 40B.
right.
okay.
His is
Yeah.
already counted,
Yeah.
so.
I keep talking about counting, but future developers, I think that the town manager at the beginning said, you know, I would like all future developers coming into town, they're gonna do big projects to meet with us, so we can give our seal of approval, or try to work with them to try to increase the numbers. So I think that's gonna be part of our strategy too, and part of our action plan, which should be to somehow entice them, or, you know, encourage them, especially when we reach the 10% limit, you know.
You have more say.
You do have more say.
The 40B, unfortunately, you know, it does give you the affordable housing, but they circumvent. They don't have to go to planning, they don't have to, you know, you lose a lot of control over what's going into your own town.
Right.
And, you know, it's kind of a detriment, you know, to the town to be pushed into these things. So, yeah, if you can do a friendly 40Bs.
So if we do our job, we don't have to worry about 40B, right?
I would think so.
For a while, I mean, but if we keep working, after we reach the 40B limit, if we work with people, because you're gonna need a cushion, you're gonna need to,
Yeah,
you know.
and the thing is you don't, it's not that you don't want 40B projects, you just want what's going to benefit the town. You know, I mean, you can have 40B projects that are small. There's a 40B project going on in Rockland, it's the 4 houses that are going in. I mean, the circumstances, you know, weren't good because it was an unbuildable lot.
Yeah.
And now they're putting 4 houses on what was an unbuildable lot. But, you know, that type of thing, it's a 40B, so,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't have to be a 245 unit monstrosity to, you know,
Right.
so.
So and that carries into my other discussion on how to work with developers to get more friendly 40B projects. So, I mean, I didn't realize, you know, because it was a, you know, 200-page document, but this housing, you know, production plan has all the stuff that was
Yeah,
giving us a roadmap
yeah,
of how to do implementation strategies, you know, make sure all eligible units are added to the subsidized housing inventory in a timely manner, which makes sense, things you don't think about. Preserve the existing affordable housing stock, including its diversity, building lots. And they talk about zoning and different things, so we should definitely be looking at this and start working on some of the, you know, because it tells you, it even has a chart, okay, to accomplish these goals, you need to work with these boards. You know, you have to work with the housing authority, I mean, you have to work with the selectmen on these, you have to work with the zoning, you have to work with the planning board on these, so we should start looking more the town as a whole, instead of us,
right.
you know, oh, that group wants more affordable housing. Well, let's make it so the town wants more affordable housing to help the town folks.
It
You know?
really is, it's a balancing act, it really is. I
Right.
mean, you know, you gotta do what's good for the town, and, you know, that's, you know, best for everybody.
Right, so I mean, the affordable housing goals is 6 or 7 of them, you know, so develop 40 affordable housing units each year over the next 5 years. Okay? An adequate supply of well, I'm not gonna read them all, but the other thing too is once we have affordable housing, we need to preserve them, keep them, because some of them, I think they're not in perpetuity, some of them run out, I believe. You know, 'cause
Yeah, they always say it's a floating number, you know, it's just because I guess some fall off and, you know, some come on, I guess if there's different, you know, like if a group home or something changes, then that would maybe come off, but then something else.
So here's priority 1, priority 2, and there's all the different groups that are involved. Encourage mixed-use development, promote a mix of commercial and affordable units near downtown. And it tells you what groups, you know, should be. Ensure new housing creation is harmonious with the suburban character of Abington, you know? So a lot of it has to do with zoning boards, ZBAs and stuff like that. Support aging in the community to increase multi-generational housing options and progressive senior facilities. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds good. Consider broader use and acceptance of accessory dwelling units. Now that's something.
I have articles on that.
Yeah, and that's
I
something we
mentioned
can't
that
do on our own. And this says town meeting,
Yeah, I don't
planning
know.
board, zoning board, conservation board of health is all involved. So this is something we can't.
I don't know what the zoning is on that, but I have articles on that. Oh, right here, accessory dwelling units.
Yeah. Because people say, oh, no, but hold on a second, it might help, yeah, it makes it affordable housing.
Yeah, I don't know if that's in our zoning, would have to find out from zoning and
Exactly,
planning
so,
if they, but it does, yeah, it does help.
But after we come up with an action plan, and if that is indeed one of our priorities, we should invite experts on zoning, we should invite the zoning board in, and the planning board in, and just say, hey, this is what we want to accomplish. Are you guys on board? And if so, how can we work together to accomplish these goals? Even Sean Riley, he does pretty much every, he is very big in the zoning in town, and works, for whatever your opinion is, works to try to fix the zoning, and gets up at town meeting and, feels strongly, and he's had the planning board's ear for a while, so he would definitely be someone to look into and get his input on some of that stuff too, so. All right, that's all I have. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about?
I read an article which was kind of interesting.
Did you read the article or the article?
I read it. The article was interesting. It's all about the elderly
Okay.
aging in place,
Okay.
which with the whole senior thing.
Yeah.
And the numbers were, it's aging in one's own home or with family or a close friend is a widely held aspiration. 88% of adults 50 and older saying it's their goal in an earlier AP NORC poll. The outlook among those 65 or older is upbeat, with nearly 8 in 10 saying they're extremely or very prepared to stay in their current homes as long as possible. So it seems like it's kind of, a lot of people want to stay in their own homes, which, in a sense, if they do, then the senior part of it, there might not be quite as much of a need.
Well, maybe we can come
Going
up with
forward.
an innovative way for that, help them make that happen,
Well, and that whole thing, multi-generational housing and,
Yep.
The units, these, what were they?
Accessory.
Accessory dwelling
Yep.
units, that's all something
So allow
that's,
people to take their house and, hey, I got,
they stay in their own home, but they might live with somebody,
Mhm.
and that, it's, that was interesting, so.
and that's probably something you have to get the zoning change on, or.
Yeah, and that would be something with zoning, the accessory dwelling units, I think that would be, it's a different way to look at things,
It's funny, because when I got on this board, it's like, yeah, we're gonna have more senior housing, and we're gonna have first-time home buyer loans. Now all of a sudden, it's just like, wow, there's a lot of work involved in getting anything done. So,
Well,
Yeah.
it is, and, the first-time home buyers, that's a whole other,
Yep.
animal. I mean, that's a big need too.
Oh, absolutely.
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 So, yeah,
But I think we need to focus, so that's why
Yep.
I think an action plan is, at least to guide us through the next, 4 or 5 years, give us some goals and.
well, I think we started with, with Tom, and
Yeah,
he wrote it down to put on his agenda, and just
Mhm.
go from there.
okay. And so the next meeting, I'm hoping to, and I'll reach out to get whatever information we have. I would assume at that point that they're done with the center school.
Habib,
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody should be done, I think, right around that time, aren't they? Aren't they supposed to have?
the end of June,
The end of
is that what the prediction
I
date
think
is?
so.
End
You
of
might
June.
guys remember what the next step is? Is there any more public meetings on that, or is it just, no, they're gonna present it
I don't know.
to us in the selectmen, I think. I think that's
Yes,
what it was. What's it?
Yeah, I think there's a Zoom meeting the week after next.
the Tuesday
The-
meening,
the
the
Tuesday
24th,
meeting,
2 to 3
yeah.
PM is the
Yeah.
one that Pam and I have been attending.
Are you guys still getting emails from them?
We
Sporadically.
do.
Yeah, okay, because I know right after we had that meeting, you say, Liz, I haven't got.
Yeah,
anything
I don't
since-
think we've gotten any
Okay.
since they added you.
Yeah,
Okay.
Elizabeth actually, she's kind of running the show with that,
Yeah.
Elizabeth Haney, and she's on vacation
Okay.
till I think through next week
Yeah, we
too,
didn't meet
so,
this, we didn't meet this
Yeah.
week.
Okay, cool. All right,
so.
motion to adjourn, anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good, thank you.